Lincoln had seen Beth's boyfriend half a dozen times now. Justin had really taken to Sacagawea after that first show. Now he called Lincoln whenever the band was playing. Dina, Justin's girlfriend, would come, too. They usually ended up at the Village Inn afterward. They'd all order pie and listen to Justin dissect the night's show. Park. That morning in English, Park noticed that Eleanor's hair came to a soft red point on the back of her neck. Eleanor. That afternoon in history, Eleanor noticed that Park chewed on his pencil when he was thinking, and that the girl sitting behind him, what's her name, Kim, with the giant breasts and the orange Esprit bag, obviously had a crush on him. Park. That night, Park made a tape with the Joy Division song on it over and over again. He emptied all his handheld video games and Josh's remote control cars and called his grandma to tell her that all he wanted for his birthday in November was AA batteries. Park. They did get out of the car. Once they were downtown, Park wanted to show Eleanor Drastic Plastic and the Antiquarium and all the other record stores. She'd never even been to the Old Market, which was practically the only place to go in Omaha. There were a bunch of other kids hanging out downtown, a lot of them looking much weirder than Eleanor. Park took her to his favorite pizza place, and then his favorite ice cream place, and his third favorite comic books shop. He kept pretending that they were on a real date, and then he'd remember that they were. I'm never ready. Park. They ended up at Central Park, Omaha's version. Eleanor had never been here before either, and even though it was wet and muddy and still kind of cold, she kept saying how nice it was. Oh look, she said, swans. I think those are geese, he said. Well, they're the best looking geese I've ever seen. They sat on one of the park benches and watched the geese settle in on the bank of the man-made lake. Park put his arm around Eleanor and felt her lean against him. Let's keep doing this, he said. What? Going out? Okay, she said. She didn't say anything about him learning how to drive a manual transmission, which he appreciated. We should go to prom, he said. What? She lifted up her head. Prom, you know, prom. I know what it is, but why would we go there? Because he wanted to see Eleanor in a pretty dress. Because he wanted to help his mom do her hair. Because it's prom, he said. And it's lame, she said. How do you know? Because the theme is, I want to know what love is. That's not such a bad song, he said. Are you drunk? It's Foreigner. Park shrugged and pulled one of her curls straight. I know that prom is lame, he said, but it's not something you can go back and do. You only get one chance. Actually, you get 3 chances. Okay, will you go to prom with me next year? She started laughing. Yeah, she said, sure, we can go next year. That will give my mouse and bird friends plenty of time to make me a dress. Totally, yes, let's go to prom. You think it's never going to happen, he said. You'll see. I'm not going anywhere. Not until you learn how to drive a stick. She was relentless. They were sitting against the back door of the elementary school in a little alcove where no one would see them unless they were really looking, and where the snow didn't fall directly on their faces. They sat next to each other, facing each other, holding hands. There was nothing between them now, nothing stupid and selfish, just taking up space. So you have 2 brothers and 2 sisters? 3 brothers, 1 sister. What are their names? Why? I'm just curious, he said. Is it classified? She sighed. Ben, Maisie. Maisie? Yeah. Then Mouse, Jeremiah. He's 5. Then the baby, Little Richie. Park laughed. You call him Little Richie? Well, his dad is Big Richie. Not that he's very big either. I know, but like Little Richard? Tutti Frutti? Oh my God, I never thought of that. Why haven't I ever thought of that? He pulled her hands to his chest. He still hadn't managed to touch Eleanor anywhere below the chin or above the elbow. He didn't think she'd necessarily stop him if he tried, but what if she did? That'd be awful. Anyway, her hands and her face were excellent. Do you guys get along? Sometimes. They're all crazy. How can a 5-year-old be crazy? Oh my God, Mouse? He's the craziest of them all. He's always got a hammer or a jackrabbit or something stuck in his back pocket, and he refuses to wear a shirt. Park laughed. How is Maisie crazy? Well, she's mean, for starters. And she fights like a street person. Like, take off your earrings fights. How old is she? 8. No, 9. What about Ben? Ben. She looked away. You've seen Ben. He's almost Josh's age. He needs a haircut. Does Richie hate them too? Eleanor pushed his hands forward. Why do you want to talk about this? He pushed back. Because it's your life. Because I'm interested. It's like you've got all these weird barriers set up, like you only want me to have access to this tiny part of you. Yes, she said, crossing her arms. Barriers. Caution tape. I'm doing you a favor. Don't, he said. I can handle it. He put his thumb between her eyebrows and tried to smooth out the frown. This whole stupid fight was about keeping secrets. Keeping secrets about your demonic ex-girlfriend. I don't have any demonic ex-anythings. Does Richie hate your brothers and sister too? Stop saying his name, she was whispering. I'm sorry, Park whispered back. He hates everybody, I think. Not your mom. Especially her. Is he mean to her? Eleanor rolled her eyes and wiped her cheek with her pajama sleeve. Yeah. Park took her hands away again. Why doesn't she leave? She shook her head. I don't think she can. I don't think there's enough of her left. Is she scared of him? He asked. Yeah. Are you scared of him? Me? I know you're scared of getting kicked out, but are you scared of him? No. She lifted up her chin. No. I just have to lie low, you know? Like, as long as I stay out of his way, I'm fine. I just have to be invisible. Park smiled. What? She asked. You, invisible. She smiled. He let go of her hands and held her face. Her cheeks were cold and her eyes were fathomless in the dark. She was all he could see. Eventually, it was too cold to stay out there. Even the insides of their mouths were freezing. When they got to Valentino's, it was packed with students. A few, like Kath, had come with their parents, but not many. It's like a science fiction story, she said. No little kids, nobody over 30. Where are all the old people? Lincoln felt a lot more like a small town than Omaha. There were still movie theaters downtown and little shops. Kath walked by a Thai restaurant and the famous Chipotle. She stopped to walk through a gift shop and smell all the essential oils. There was a Starbucks across the street. She wondered if it was Levi's Starbucks, and a minute later, she was crossing over. Inside, it was exactly like every other Starbucks Kath had ever been to, maybe with a few more professorial types, and with Levi briskly moving behind the espresso machine, smiling at something somebody was saying in his headset. Levi was wearing a black sweater over a white t-shirt. He looked like he'd just gotten a haircut, shorter in the back but still sticking up and flopping all over his face. He called out someone's name and handed a drink to a guy who looked like a retired violin teacher. Levi stopped to talk to the guy because he was Levi, and this was a biological necessity. Are you in line? A woman asked Kath. No, go ahead. But then Kath decided she may as well get in line. It's not like she'd come here to observe Levi in the wild. She didn't know what she was doing here. Can I help you? The guy at the register asked. No, you cannot, Levi said, pushing the guy down the line. I got this one. He grinned at her. Heather? Hey, Kath said, rolling her eyes. She hadn't thought he'd seen her. Look at you, all sweatered up. What are those, leg sweaters? They're leg warmers. You're wearing at least 4 different kinds of sweater. This is a scarf. You look tarred and sweatered. I get it, she said. Did you just stop by to say hi? No, she said. He frowned. She rolled her eyes again. I came for coffee. When I stepped out into the bright sunlight from the darkness of the movie house, I had only 2 things on my mind, Paul Newman and a ride home. Kath closed the book and let it fall on Levi's chest, not sure what happened next. Not sure she was awake, all things considered. The moment it fell, he pulled her onto him, with both arms. Her chest pressed against his, and the paperback slid between their stomachs. Kath's eyes were half closed, and so were Levi's, and his lips only looked small from afar, she realized, because of their doll-like pucker. They were perfectly big, really, now that she had a good look at them. Perfectly something. He nudged his nose against hers, and their mouths fell sleepily together, already soft and open. When Kath's eyes closed, her eyelids stuck. She wanted to open them. She wanted to get a better look at Levi's 2 dark eyebrows. She wanted to admire his crazy vampire hairline. She had a feeling this was never going to happen again, and that it might even ruin what was left of her life. So she wanted to open her eyes and bear some witness. But she was so tired, and his mouth was so soft. And nobody had ever kissed Kath like this before. Only Abel had kissed her before, and that was like getting pushed squarely on the mouth and pushing back. Levi's kisses were all taking, like he was drawing something out of her with soft little jabs of his chin. She brought her fingers up to his hair, and she couldn't open her eyes. Eventually, she couldn't stay awake. The Omaha airport seemed abandoned. The coffee shop was closed and a little magazine stand. Always before, when Georgie'd walk past the security checkpoint, Neil's parents or just his mom had been waiting right there in the little row of chairs. There was only one person sitting there today, a young woman in a heavy purple parka. She jumped out of her chair and started running toward Georgie. Then someone else ran past Georgie the other way, the boy from the Denver airport who'd lent her his phone. The girl jumped into his arms and he swung her in an ecstatic, lopsided circle. The joy of it hit Georgie like a shockwave. The boy's duffel bag fell to the ground. His face disappeared in the girl's long, wavy, dark hair. Georgie walked past them, holding her breath. Keep moving, so close, it's almost over. The main terminal was empty except for the dozen or so people from Georgie's plane and a security guard. If the girls were here, Georgie would have let them run ahead. Alice could even have done cartwheels if she wanted. There was no one in the building to bother. Georgie started running down the escalator. She was close, so close. She ran to the exit and pushed through the revolving door, then stopped. Everything was covered in snow. Like on TV. The parking garage across the street looked like a gingerbread house topped with thick white icing. The snow looked as soft as icing, smooth but almost furry. She pushed through the doors and stepped outside, feeling chilled through after her first inhale. Her t-shirt wasn't any protection from the cold. Her skin wasn't any protection. God, oh my God, have the girls seen this? Georgie leaned over an empty planter, pressing her hand into the snow, watching her fingers make 4 canyons. The snow was light but kept its form. She moved her palm up, shaping a soft curve. She expected the snow to feel cold, but it didn't, not at first. Not until it started to melt between her fingers. She brushed some onto her feet, and they were cold now too. She tried stamping the snow off her ballet flats and looked up and down the drive for the taxi stand. There weren't even any cars. Georgie folded her arms and walked down the sidewalk looking for a sign. "Can we help you find something?" someone said. Georgie turned. It was the ecstatic young couple, still hanging on each other, as if neither of them could quite believe the other was finally here. "Taxi stand?" Georgie said. "You're looking for a taxi?" the boy asked the man. She should probably call him a man. He must be 22, 23. His hair was already thinning. "Yeah," Georgie said. "Did you call for one?" Georgie was shivering, but she was trying not to let on. "No. Should I call for one?" The boy looked at the girl. "There aren't really taxis here," the girl said apologetically. "But also, like, Georgie might be an idiot. I mean, there are a few if you call ahead, but it's Christmas." "Oh," Georgie said, "right." She looked up and down the drive again. "Thanks." "Do you need to use my phone?" the boy offered. "That's okay," Georgie said, turning toward the door. "Thanks again." She heard them talking quietly. She heard the boy say something about Joseph and Mary and no room at the inn. "Hey, do you need a ride somewhere?" he called out to Georgie. She looked back at them. The boy was grinning. The girl looked concerned. They were probably part of some fresh-faced Nebraska death cult who hung out at airports on holidays picking up strays. "Yes," she said. "Thank you."